Hey, welcome to another episode of Local Marketing Beat, brought to you by Uberall, the only location marketing platform that connects your digital presence to revenue. In today's episode, I think it's a special one because we're talking about one of the most inspiring communities in digital marketing, women in tech SEO. And for that, we have the perfect guest combos, in my opinion. So I'm joined by Areej AbuAli, who started WTS from the ground up, and Krystal Taing, who not only leads solution and overall, but has been a part of this community for years. So we're going to talk about the origin story, the power of connection, of building, online and offline communities, and just building that trust, right? So welcome to you both to the show. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm excited as well. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Christian. I'm so excited to talk about this. It's probably a really unique subject compared to other podcasts you've done, but still incredibly relevant. So I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I think that there's definitely a connection, right? And that's where we're gonna talk about, like, what can we learn from what you guys have seen, experience, growth into for our brands, right? For our listeners, and how can they really adopt? Because at the end of the day, that community aspect of it is really what I'm interested in hearing the story, right? Why don't you take us back to that moment when, like, the idea started? What was that first spark? What inspired it? And what was going on through your head?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're turning 6 years next month. Somehow, I have no
Wow.
idea how this happened, but I started it back in 2019. I've been in the SEO industry for a little over 5 years at that point, and it was a struggle to find a sense of belonging and be able, I attend different conferences and so forth, but I wasn't really able to find that connection or feel represented in the different spaces that I went to. And so I decided, why not just start like an online group for women and people of marginalized gender to connect with one another, ask questions, answer questions, and just be kind and not feel judged and help one another without this idea of exclusivity where you need to have a certain number of years of experience or you need to have already been spoken on stage and so forth. Just kind of connect folks and help and support one another. And I was so surprised by how many folks have been looking for something similar for quite a while and got really excited that it was something that was then available. And initially, we just were doing meetups in London, where I'm based, on a monthly basis. So it's been almost 6 years now. There's a little over 10,000 of us, which is incredible. And we
Wow.
meet in person conferences in London, Berlin, Philly, Portland, and Melbourne, which is just incredible to think about. And yeah, through it, I got to work with so many wonderful partners, including Uberall, who have hosted us in your Berlin space last year, and we get to work together like all year long through our different like conferences and initiatives.
That's awesome. Such a fascinating story. And it sounds like, I mean, if you think about it, if you go back and look at those first meetups, did you think it would eventually get to this point?
No. No, I mean, I'm always so nervous up to this point, like on conference day and so on. But even back then, I remember always being really like nervous, hosting those meetups. But then they were so much smaller and so much more manageable. And yeah, I would have never thought that we'd be, going around the world, different places and hosting in different spots. And I think it's just a sentiment to how much it was a space that was needed in our industry for a really long time. And it is my full-time job now. Somehow I don't even do SEO anymore. I do community and events, which I love because it doesn't feel like a job, but I would have definitely never thought that it would turn into this.
I just go back to the very first SEO conference that I went to, about 12 years ago. And that was the sense. It was like, people looking at you and judging you. And like, if you raise your hand and you ask the wrong thing,
Yeah.
which not to mention like 90% of the people in the room were men, right? So like
Mhm.
that totally all aligns. Now, how long after you started, meetups, did you realize that this is not just a meetup anymore? This is not just a group of random people, right? This is a true community. Like how was that transition for you?
I think for me, like the tipping point probably happened when I no longer felt like I have to be logging in every day, as like prompting conversation, answering questions, encouraging folks. Like there was this beautiful tipping point where I'd log in and all the questions are already answered. and folks are directing people, giving them resources, telling them, even sharing our code of conduct and rules like on my behalf. And it was that where it was like all this organic growth, where it was like it just started feeling very member led is the best way to describe it.
That's awesome. And Krystal, I don't think I've heard your story of the why or how did you get involved in this community to begin with?
Yeah, it's funny because I was trying to think like when I first maybe saw a tweet, or I think it was probably a tweet back then because we weren't like we were a little bit on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I know it was from the very beginning. I think like did like an interview in 2020, and I was part of the community from the very beginning. And I pulled up a post that was like, we have a community of 2,000 people, and that was
Yes.
huge. Like that was huge, and now it's like what 10x that. I feel like from the very very beginning, from my perspective, I've been like particularly in local SEO, which is a niche of broader SEO tactics. And primarily within Google, I've been part of the Google Business Profile product expert community. And local and like the GVP product experts has always been a very close, open, and like welcoming group, but that hasn't been the case outside of local. Like, I think Christian, like you said, you would go to conferences and you're like, if I'm not in my little bubble, I feel very uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, like, I don't want to
Yeah.
have conversations with people. And I just thought I would never find that anywhere else, like that place where I felt comfortable with those group of people. And then Women in Tech SEO comes along and it like completely changed my mind. Like, there's all of these people with different backgrounds, different focuses, whether it's in content or
Mhm.
tech or on-site e-commerce. Like now there's an entire like group of like AI folks. And so it reminded me of that I thought I would never find, and have just been, excited to be a part of it ever since. And all I can say is like it's completely different than like any conference, any community, any group you go to. And now I'm like, hey, if you join this, you have to make sure like you're not doing this. And like you said, Areej, like I feel like I am a steward to the women in tech SEO
Yes.
community. Like I have to make sure that, everyone knows why it's so special, and that they don't, they cannot tarnish that.
I love that. And yeah, I think for
Mhm.
me, it's like this. A lot of people, when they talk about community, there's this fixation on KPIs, right? And they talk about
Right.
number of messages exchanged, how that changes over time. And for me, like the success of it comes off the back of, some of the stories that come out of it.
Mhm.
We have, our wonderful Tori and Sam who met each other in the community and ended up co-founding a company together. Like it's so hard. You can't really put a number on these stories when you want to share, how the impact that a community might
Right.
have on folks within the industry. And it's stories like that that really showcase like the work that we all do together as members.
Obviously, I think that with this level of scale and growth over the years, there's challenges that come with that, right? So, how did you do, or what did you do to protect that sense of trust, of inclusion of everyone, and to maintain that purpose, right? That we're not just a Slack group, or we're not just this. It's like this is a more than that. This is a community.
Yeah, I mean, something we put a lot of work in all the time is our code of conduct. So the WTS way, which is, our values, our rules, and it's something that we continually change over time as well, based on like different scenarios that might happen. But we also like publicly communicate that all the time with the
Mhm.
community. And so, if something goes wrong or something doesn't go quite right, I would just openly share, this happened. No naming and shaming needed, but like this scenario happened and this is the action that we decided to take place. And so now we're going to make that update to our code of conduct and so on. We make it loud and clear in all of our member onboarding, in our comms, in our conferences. We always have it displayed in our holding slides. One of the pieces of advice I always give to folks who are like still in their early days of starting community, is yeah, just make sure you have a solid code of conduct, because that can make or break your community.
On your perspective, Crystal, is that what you've experienced, right? Especially at the beginning. Obviously, now you're more involved, but at the beginning, did you feel that as well? Like, did you feel it was a safe space, right?
Yeah, immediately. I think that's one of the things is like ask any question you want. Like, no one's going to shame you for not knowing this topic, like immediately. And you can not only like tell that by the code of conduct being shared, but the way the users are interacting and the way they ask questions. And it's just very different. I think if you would be on Twitter or another community, like you have to be very particular about how you word things, and people would think twice. And there it's just like open and free. And I think some of the like comments I've heard too is when I've invited friends and other colleagues to join the community or come to an event, they're like, I'm so excited that I don't have to think twice about what I'm wearing or like just things like that. And I'm like, yes, like it's those little things that you know make it so different and make people feel so comfortable and safe because they know it's going to be kind of the community that's going to be there to support them. And so yeah, absolutely felt it from day one, and it's everywhere. It's in Slack. It's on the post on LinkedIn. It's in other conversations with other folks in the community, even if we're not at a Women in Tech SEO event, or maybe it's a meetup at Brighton SEO, like the other communities. It carries through no matter where the community is interacting.
That's so awesome. And I can relate to, I don't worry about what I'm gonna wear because I wear the same V-neck every day, right? So like I'm there with you. But as we're talking, I mean, obviously word of mouth and social is gonna go a long way, right? Because you want to bring your friends, you want to bring your colleagues. But how has SEO, newsletters, content, website played a role in visibility for like new people finding you guys or joining? Is that a thing? Is there a strategy behind that?
Yeah, I think our initiatives are probably one of the most important things. So, word of mouth is definitely one of the main and primary ways that people find us. Like, we get a lot of folks who said, "My colleague told me about this, my boss told me about this, my friend told me about this." But what we do with our initiatives, our mentorship program, for example, is probably one of our most popular one. I think we're running like our eighth cohort at the minute. So we match mentors and mentees, and we give training to both and lots of guidance in like a cohort based space, and we host it twice a year. So people hear about the mentorship program and want to be a part of it, and off the back of that they would join the community. We just did our first Portland edition festival, which was our 10th conference. I cannot believe I can even say that. But then a lot of local folks who are based in the Oregon area found us through the conference and then became members of the community. So it is different, initiatives, events that take place that kind of like motivate or give reason for folks to be like, oh, well, I also want to be part of this all year long and see some of the other stuff that they have going on. So it isn't necessarily just, join this community, but it could be, join our conference, join our initiatives, take part in our programs. And then through that, they then become community members.
So you definitely notice something by people attending offline events in person, meeting in first person, and then changing that interaction online, right? Or how did that go?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of both. What we tend to do is we always set up like a month in advance to our conferences, a Slack channel for all of the attendees. And it's such a nice way to like break the ice before people can go meet in person. A lot of people end up with like buddies, so like conference buddies, and then they don't feel so overwhelmed going to a conference and not knowing anyone, especially for like solo attendees where it can feel really scary going into an in-person space completely on your own. So we encourage a lot of the online connection to also happen before folks meet offline. But then if folks don't join that beforehand, they're even our like attendee comms emails, we have like a whole process, like 3 months countdown, 2 months countdown, 1 month, and so on. And we send all of this information and encourage folks to be joining our online space at the same time. But then we do still get folks who attend in person first before they then decide to make the jump and join the online. But when they do, they already can see familiar names and folks that they've interacted with and met. So it just, yeah, this transition between online and offline can feel very different. Some folks prefer it one way and others prefer it the other way. And it's just very important as like organizers to make sure that you're offering the different options and you're making it really, really easy for folks to opt in depending on, what their preference is.
Yeah, especially for so many of us that or sometimes we feel introverted, right? We're going to a conference and just like coming to someone and start talking. Now, Crystal, when you joined 2020, that was COVID era, right? So there was probably not a lot of in-person events. So how was that online experience for you, like meeting everybody for the first time online?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, because there are people I've talked to for years. And for example, like I think there's someone in the industry that I spoke with probably 5 or 6 years, Christina. She's based in Denver. And I met her in person for the first time in Philly at the very first Philly conference. And it's just like, I think in normal circumstances, it's a little bit weird, but because the community is surrounded by it, it's just like so normal. There's no shock factor. There's no like, "Oh, what do I say?" Like we just are already connected. It's definitely I would say easier at like Women in Tech SEO versus other conferences. I feel like different ones, it's I'm a little bit taken aback. I'm like, oh, okay. But at Women Tech SEO, like I said, it's just warm, it's comfortable. You're like, hey, I've been chatting with you online for 6 years, and here you are in real life. So I think it's what people have to deal with in general these days because of, now remote work culture. It's common, but I don't think twice about it when it's a Women in Tech SEO event.
Yeah. So the going back to I could say maybe 5 years, I try to set up a few meetups, and I know it's challenging just to organizing. I think the most I ever had was maybe like 30 people, and these were just very young entrepreneurs that were in the beginning stage. It was cool, right? Because you get to network and all this stuff, but, like, looking back and see, it's like, I don't know how even those 30 showed up, right?
Mhm.
So, from your perspective, like, especially for our brands, right? Because there's brands, like, think about, yoga franchises or even restaurants, they do events, right? Like, they wanna set up, they wanna build community, bring their customers in. What kind of, actionable advice would you say, like, "Hey, if you're thinking about organizing a meetup or a community event, what should they be thinking about to try to make it as successful as possible?" Obviously, each and every one's gonna get better and better, but where should they start?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best, like, I joined this very local personal training gym that they have like 3 personal trainers, and one of the cells that they have for you is you then join and become part of their community. And their community was as simple as a WhatsApp group, but that
Yeah.
WhatsApp group had all their clients in it. And we were maybe a total of 30 to 50 people on there, but we were all local, and we all had like that same common goal and interest, is that we were all working out in this specific area. And I thought that was so smart of them. I wanted to continue being trained by them because I wanted to continue having these connections with those local folks. And over time, the organizers would do like a monthly picnic or a monthly run or a Sunday morning outdoor workout. And you start realizing it's this idea of quality over quantity. I think there's always a lot of fixation on I want to make sure I grow to 100, 200, la la la. But actually, that does not matter at all. It's about that you are providing the space for your members to do all the work. And you're kind of like you're guiding it and you're putting that environment, and maybe you yourself host, some bigger stuff. But what's so beautiful is those micro communities that start coming off the back of it, where people themselves start saying, I'm going to organize weekly runs. Does anyone want to join every Sunday? Or if anyone wants to do a Tuesday morning gym session together. So I think always for brands, when they start small, focus on quality, and just focus on bringing folks in a space in a familiar platform is always what I say first. Where are people already, and what kind of platform are they already constantly checking? Whether that's your audience already lives on WhatsApp or Facebook group or LinkedIn or whatever it may be, the simpler the better. And the niche, the more local, the more common interest, whatever it may be, then helps those members could connect with one another even better.
I was going to say you're spot on where you say they focus on getting so many people,
Yeah,
where it really should be create, a fun, safe, interesting environment in the first place, and then it'll grow organically.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a variety of things, right? Like where you find, and even if it's just partner with other local businesses and then interact, right? Like make that partnership. It's related. We share a customer base. We're not competitors. So and honestly, like personally, that's where it gets fun, right? Like that business partnership depth. You go out there, you meet business owners, and you're just setting up events. I mean, it doesn't get more fun than that.
Exactly. Yeah.
For those of us or for those that are listening right now, right? For all our women that are either in marketing or specifically SEO, how can they find out or join if and maybe find out if there's an event coming up in their area, right? How can they find out more and join the WTS community? What is step one in your perspective?
I was going to say before you answer that, it's not just, women listening, anyone listening that want to recommend this
Mm.
to a woman in their network, someone that identifies as a woman, like bosses, hey, I want to send people on my team. That happens all the time. Or like me, I convinced my entire company to be a part of the community. So
That's
just
true.
to clarify, it can be anyone, you can recommend so many people to join the community.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, so we're on womenintechseo.com, and our join page welcomes all women and people of marginalized gender to just a very simple form, and they get added to our Slack group right away. We are a free membership, and the plan is to always stay free membership. The way we monetize is via partners and sponsors. And we all of our upcoming events are on there with all the tickets uploaded. We also have a newsletter that's open for all to subscribe, where we share weekly news. We amplify marginalized folks and a lot of great articles that they write through our weekly newsletter, and everyone is welcome to sign up to that. And yeah, we have a very successful partner program. We're so happy to have Uberall part of our supporters, where any folks who want to, it's almost like thinking of a community as a marketing extension can join, and be a part of as well. So yeah, womenintechseo.com is where you can find all the info, and we're super active on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Now, I think that it's just with everything that's going on, right? With all the things that AI is bringing in tech and things going wild. What are your final thoughts, right? Of the value of bringing people together, regardless of all the craziness, regardless of like, I can do SEO 100 times faster because of AI, or I can build a website with a prompt. I mean, what is the value in your perspective? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think community marketing, honestly, is just going to keep becoming more and more important. And I think a lot of brands are going to realize the importance of investing in this. I mean, even just thinking about how fragmented social media has become over the last year,
Mhm.
like as a social channel, knowing that, community is one of those currencies that you own, like you have all your folks in your space and you're able to connect with them directly. So as a brand, whether it's partnering up with existing engaged communities already, or making sure that you have your own community set up where you have your audience already living there. It's just one of those things that's going to continue growing and becoming more and more important, specifically with how important it is for everyone to find like a source of authentic information now and have those connections, and how difficult that might feel with all the changes that are happening at the minute with technology.
That's awesome. What's your take on that, Crystal?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is like really, really important is those interactions. And with how things work today, everyone's remote. I even see it in myself. Like I will just
Mhm.
get online and just start messaging people for things I need. I like skip the pleasantries. I'm not like, hey, hello, how was your weekend? And this kind of forces it, but it's natural. And it's not just women in tech SEO. I think brands can really take a, kind of guidance from how do you do this? How do you create these spaces where your members can be customers, members can be influencers, those types of things. Where can you create and facilitate a space where, like you said, they can do the work? Where they are really driving the change in the conversation. That is where brands and agencies and communities will thrive and win in the next 5-10 years, because I think we are craving it. Like we're not going to go out and do it, but like you said, we find a space, common interests, it's nearby, and we're going to flock to those areas.
That's awesome. Well, I really want to thank you both, Areej and Crystal, for your time today. I think we got some really valuable insights. Personally, I love this story, right? It was such a fascinating story. Even when I heard about it, it's I heard about it a few years ago, right? So not too long ago, I didn't see it grow to this point. It's just like kind of already big. But again, thank you so much for your time. Any last piece of advice or words for our listeners from either of you?
I was just going to say, like, thank you, Areej, for creating this. It's one of the best things, and I love to talk about it. I love to tell everyone about it. They're like, "Oh, I have a job I'm hiring for," or "I need a job," or "I had this question." My answer is always go to Women in Tech SEO. So thank you for
Yeah.
creating the community, but like keeping it this. So I appreciate it.
I think just thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, like thanks to Uberall for just being awesome, awesome supporters and always wanting to like amplify and make sure that more folks know about us as well. It's just so appreciated. And yeah, it's so fun to get to partner with a lot of different companies and brands and understand how they work as well. And there's so much learning that's shared from both ends as well. And I think something for specifically for brands that I always, when we talk about communities and brands that are trying to open up and set up their own community, your company culture will drive so much of that community as well, and there's a lot that can be done to make sure that like it continues to live through the communities that you build. And there's so much that there are companies that I would continue to happily be customers of through the ethos and the values and the culture that they do through their community. So just making sure that you always feel like very authentic about what it is that you're building, because it is such an excellent way for people to understand and know a lot more about what you are based on and what you build.
100%. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. If you made it this far into the video, go check out our new Uberall Academy at academy.uberall.com. We have certifications and a lot of courses coming up. So make sure that you go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. And with that, I'll see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.